I bought for 200,000 and worth over $1 million today.
Crypto. So are you still bullish on crypto as an investment?
I am actually, but people get crypto confused with its real potential. Let's talk about digital payment systems, because what's about to pass first, we are days away from this happening, is the Genius Act, which is actually the Stablecoin Act. It was just passed by the Senate 48 hours ago. It's going back to the House. I actually worked on that bill 2 years ago. So if that bill passes, it's really nothing to do with speculating on crypto. It's a new form of payment.
Kevin O'Leary wastes no time highlighting what many still miss about the crypto revolution. It isn't just about speculation. Regulation and innovation in digital payments are already reshaping finance. And according to O'Leary, that shift is setting the stage for Bitcoin's next massive run. But what exactly makes him confident enough to claim that Bitcoin could double within a year? To answer that, we need to trace his arguments across regulatory moves, institutional adoption, and the global economic stage.
If he accepted USDC, which is actually a stablecoin backed by the US dollar, just went public, very successful IPO. I was a shareholder in that company too. That's one of my best IPOs in the last 2 years. The transaction would happen in less than a second, and the fees would be a hundredth of what the costs are right now. So it's a digital payment system. The price doesn't, it's no speculation on it. It's backed by the US dollar, treasury bills. So it's sort of a new form of digital payment. That's different than Bitcoin, which is a speculation. It's, if you believe in Bitcoin, you think it's a digital gold and you live through the volatility. I believe in both.
O'Leary draws a sharp distinction between stablecoins and Bitcoin. While stablecoins are about efficiency and payments, Bitcoin remains an asset of speculation, digital gold for a new era. But what's striking is his conviction that both will have a place in the financial ecosystem. That duality, payments on one side, wealth storage on the other, underpins his bold prediction that Bitcoin is nowhere near finished climbing.
I believe in both. I believe that crypto will be the 12th sector of the S&P in some period of time because it provides productivity to all 11 other sectors. So the way I own it is I own the exchanges. My exchange, in one called WonderFi up in Canada, just got acquired last week or 2 weeks ago by Robinhood. I'm happy because I think Vlad, who runs Robinhood's great. And now he's got 1 million plus accounts in Canada, a market that he'd never participated in. But the point is, this is never going away. It's going to stay forever.
For O'Leary, the inevitability of crypto is not tied to a single coin, but to an entire ecosystem. Exchanges, infrastructure companies, and tokenized assets are all feeding into what he sees as a new financial sector, one that will eventually stand alongside technology, healthcare, and energy on Wall Street. That long-term perspective helps explain why he sees Bitcoin doubling, because the groundwork for mainstream adoption is already in motion.
The most important part of this whole announcement and Friday itself was signaling that the regulatory environment is going to change on all things crypto. As you know, the last administration under Gensler at the SEC, the way policy was being administered was through litigation, trying to interpret the existing laws into the new technologies of Bitcoin and all the other technologies in crypto. And it was a mire of just lawsuits. That's changing. That was the signal.
For years, uncertainty in regulation has weighed on the crypto industry. Lawsuits, fines, and enforcement defined the conversation. But O'Leary sees the recent shift in Washington, especially with discussions of a strategic Bitcoin reserve, as a turning point. Regulation, in his view, is no longer a threat, but a signal that Bitcoin's role in the financial system is maturing.
You know, cryptocurrency should be thought of in two buckets. One, you have speculation in the price of Bitcoin. Everybody's been tracking that from 16,000 to over 100,000 and down 10% a day. You need a lot of fortitude. You need a stomach to handle that. But it should not be your entire portfolio. It's no different than owning gold. I own a 5% weighting in gold in my portfolios, and I own a 5% weighting in crypto. They've both done very, very well over the last year and been hedges against inflation, which is not bad.
This disciplined approach is classic O'Leary, measured, diversified, and aware of volatility. Bitcoin may swing wildly, but he treats it as a hedge against inflation and currency risk, similar to gold. That kind of framing makes his forecast of Bitcoin doubling all the more striking, because it comes from someone who isn't known for reckless bets.
Let me ask you very quickly about Bitcoin. What is your one-year target price for Bitcoin? Where do you see it at?
I mean, you're making me forecast, but I'm happy to do it. In a year from now, if somehow this act got approved in the next, call it 6 months, a year from then, 250,000 for Bitcoin.
There it is, the headline prediction. O'Leary says plainly that with the right regulatory push, Bitcoin could soar to $250,000 within a year. His logic rests not on hype, but on a convergence of adoption, clarity, and legitimacy that would finally unleash the capital waiting on the sidelines.
Right now, I have to take U.S. dollars. I've got to get through a know your client prerogative. I'm treated like a criminal by transferring $100,000 over, turn it into Swiss francs. Takes about a week. I get screwed for about 200 basis points in the whole thing. If he accepted USDC, which is actually a stablecoin backed by the US dollar, just went public, very successful IPO. I was a shareholder in that company too. That's one of my best IPOs in the last 2 years. The transaction would happen in less than a second, and the fees would be a hundredth of what the costs are right now. So it's a digital payment system. The price it's no speculation on it. It's backed by the US dollar, treasury bills.
This real-world example drives home why O'Leary is so bullish. In his eyes, inefficiencies in the global financial system make crypto-based solutions inevitable. As those solutions scale, the infrastructure supporting Bitcoin gains credibility, and the asset itself benefits from the rising tide.
And digitizing the American dollar is probably the most important and largest aspect of crypto we could do, because every commodity on earth is denominated by the American dollar. We don't want the Russians and the Chinese and the North Koreans and South American countries trying to come up with an alternative, which they are talking about. We want the dollar to rule, and this is how you start. It's the largest market. It's a multi-trillion-dollar market, and this is the lowest hanging fruit. Bipartisan bill, going to be hitting the floor soon. I totally support it.
Here, O'Leary zooms out, showing the geopolitical stakes. A digitized dollar not only strengthens America's dominance, but also stabilizes global markets. And when the world's largest economy embraces digital assets, it sets the stage for Bitcoin to be legitimized as the hedge and store of value O'Leary believes it is. Throughout these conversations, Kevin O'Leary painted a clear picture. Stablecoins are setting the stage for efficient payments. Bitcoin is emerging as digital gold. Regulation is shifting from punishment to support, and institutional players are beginning to buy in. His forecast is bold, but his reasoning comes from watching governments, markets, and infrastructure align in ways they never have before. And as O'Leary leaves us with this final thought, it's clear he sees Bitcoin's story as only beginning.
But remember, in that is the cryptos itself, Bitcoin, the USDC, and the shares of the infrastructure companies like Circle and everything else. It was a very successful IPO.
Do you think Kevin O'Leary is right? Will Bitcoin double in the next 12 months? Or is he underestimating the risks still ahead?